Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. Finances can seem frightening if you try to understand all the technical terms of the economists, such as debentures, bank spread, government securities. Today I want to talk to those who find talking about money, economy, and investments hard or boring. You can make your life easier if you think of money as a game. Think about a game that has some levels you need to pass before reaching the final objective. And you can master that game and make money work for you. This is Tony Robbins' suggestion in his book, Money Master the Game, 7 Simple Steps to Financial Freedom. Yes, he's the one and only Anthony Robbins, famous for his books, speeches, and events about personal development. And here he uses his communication powers and receives the help of specialists in finances to make the money game easy and give you a guide so you can achieve financial freedom by following 7 steps. In today's Arata Academy summary, we will see each one of these 7 steps and understand how you can dominate the money game. To master the money game, you need to gather an amount of patrimony that can create a higher passive income than your monthly expenses. Someone who spends all day long sitting on the sofa watching TV passively becomes fatter and fatter throughout the years, right? With money is the total opposite. If you leave your money aside for several years without doing anything with that, it will become thinner and thinner, having less purchasing power. What could be bought 10 years ago with a bill of 100 cannot be bought today with the same amount. That is why when it comes to money, when you don't take action, you're making a choice, and choosing not to act is one of the worst choices. Think of money as if it were a game. The objective of that game is to accumulate property so that the passive income is able to pay for all your expenses. To give you an example with round figures, imagine that you spend $10,000 a month. If your investments profit 1% net worth per month, you would need to accumulate 1 million so that the total amount of profits every month would reach the 10,000 that you need to be able to pay for expenses. And when you reach that point, you have mastered the game. You can now even stop working because your expenses can be paid just by your passive income. In order to reach that point, you need to take 7 steps. You need to take 7 steps to master the money game. And this journey starts with the decision to be in control of your money. Money Master the Game is a book of almost 800 pages that blends personal development teachings with technical guidance regarding investments in a very broad and comprehensive way. In Amazon, I saw reviews of readers who found it very long and lengthy, but basically the book's chapters form all the 7 steps that you must take to master the money game. So first we will make a summary of those 7 steps, and then we will talk about the most important ideas of the book. Take notes of the 7 steps you need to take to master the money game. Step 1. Make the decision of becoming an investor, not just a consumer. Make the commitment of leaving aside a percentage of your monthly earnings once a month and invest it, preferably in an automated way. This is the most important financial decision of your life. Step number 2, become an insider. Get to know the rules of the money game before starting to play for real. You can obtain financial education on your own, or you can hire an independent specialist to help you directly with your investments. Step 3, make your game possible to win. You need to know the reality. You have to be clear about your numbers. Calculate exactly how much you need to gather and how long it will take for you to master your game. I have explained exactly how you can calculate all of that in episode 188 of the Hello, Sage Arata series. This journey can be accelerated if you're able to save more, earn more, legally pay less taxes, obtain greater profit, or lead a cheaper lifestyle. Step 4. Define your asset allocation. Asset allocation is the most effective strategy to win the money game. Allocating means distributing your money among different kinds of investments. For example, fixed income, real estate, stocks. Fixed income investments tend to be more safe. Property and real estate funds are a middle ground, and stocks are more risky. Allocating according to your preferences towards the risk that you want, it will prevent you from putting all your eggs in just one basket, reducing therefore the risks and using a more balanced strategy. Step 5. Program a passive income plan for a lifetime. The final objective of the game is to make Your investments create a passive income every month during all your life. Your plan must allow you to use your profits without touching your main property. Step 6. Invest like the 0.001% of the richest people in the world. Analyze how they play the money game and try to adapt their strategies to your reality. Step 7. Keep yourself active, benefit from your journey, and share your results. Regardless of how much you earn, you will face challenges, opportunities, and problems in order to win the money game. This is a long-term process, so you need to learn how to enjoy the journey or you will end up giving up in the middle of the way. That means committing yourself to being satisfied today just for being in the journey, not just conditioning your happiness to an uncertain future financial goal. Just focus on always improving. If every month you have property and more knowledge than the previous month, it means you're playing the money game in the right way. Compound interest can be your best ally or your worst enemy in the money game. There is a factor that can exponentially accelerate or slow down for several years your objective of mastering the money game. And this factor is the interest rate that you can obtain. Pay close attention to the net percentage of your money profits once taxes and inflation have been already discounted. Now let's come back to the example that I gave about someone who spends $10,000 a month. With net profits of 1% every month, that person needs to gather $1 million. But if a slight drop occurs, let's say 0.8% a month, that would mean that this same person would need to gather an extra 250 or an extra 25% to be able to obtain the same passive income of 10,000. At the same time, a small increase of 0.2% means that the person would need to gather 866,000 less. Instead of $1 million, having 834,000 in the account would already be enough. When compound interest works on your behalf, it is the best ally that you can find to win the money game. But if you have debt, then compound interest will be your worst enemy. In this case, enemies are always stronger than allies. It is very difficult to obtain income above 1% net per month, but it is very easy to have that charge higher than that compound interest. Well, that's why it's almost never a good idea to start saving money when you're still paying debt. I explained the exact 9 steps that you need to take in order to pay your debt in the episode 142 of the Hello, Sage Arata series. Without that, then you can start making your money work for you using compound interest as your ally. Compound interest makes your money grow exponentially. And that is why our minds that usually think in a linear way find it quite difficult to understand the idea of compound interest. To have an idea of how compound interest works, you can see the example of Benjamin Franklin. When Franklin died in 1790, he left nearly $1,000 as a donation to the city of Boston with the condition that the money stayed invested for 100 years. After that period, the city of Boston cashed in $500,000 and left the rest there for another 100 years. After this second period, those $1,000 had become $6.5 million. Isn't that impressive? As a matter of fact, those numbers are very simplified and rounded, and the story is quite longer, but the important thing is that you understand the power of compound interest. Consistency is more important than quantity. Invest every month, even if you don't have a lot of money. Because a lot of people say that they don't start investing now because they don't have money. But actually, nowadays, you can start investing with very little amounts, so that people who are saying that, usually what they're lacking is commitment, action, consistency. Of course, there are many people in situations of extreme poverty who really don't have any conditions to invest. But I'm not talking about these people. I'm talking about people who already receive a good income and who don't invest because they are not committed to doing that. And you can start today, even in small amounts, even without having the perfect strategy. In the beginning, it is even better to have a small amount of money. Since you are still learning, investing little by little prevents you from making big mistakes. And the most important thing is consistency. It is investing month after month, keeping a part of your income and making it become your future freedom. And with time, you must increase the invested amount. You can take apart a higher percentage of your income. Or you can try to get a higher salary to obtain extra sources of income, have secondary jobs in addition to your main one. At the same time, you can try to spend less Maybe by adopting a cheaper lifestyle or even by searching for legal ways of paying less taxes and fees. Get to know the rules of the game in order to not be deceived by the myths of money. Take two people who have never played chess in their lives before and sit them together in front of a chessboard without telling them the rules. Do you think it would be possible for them to play in the right way? Something similar happens with the money game. Nevertheless, many people try to actually play the game without knowing the rules completely. The only way to master the money game is investing in your own financial education to understand the rules of the game, or hiring an independent consultant to help you invest your money. Only this way you can avoid being fooled by some of the myths around the world of finances. Myths such as believing that a certain investment can hit the marketplace consistently, or that small rates don't matter in the long run. Or even the myth that past profitability of an investment is a good predictor of future profitability. People without financial education almost always end up becoming victims of the advice of influencers or bank managers or sellers of financial investments who are much more interested in their own profits than in helping you earn money. When you don't know the rules of the game, you can fall into traps such as private pension plans, investment funds that promise you a minimum return, or wrong beliefs like the one that says that in order to obtain high results, you necessarily need to take great risks. So, do your homework. Enter this game to win. Read books about finances. Take courses on financial education. Follow the market to understand closely how the game works. It can be difficult in the beginning, but it's the best investment that you can make for your own financial future. Be clear about your final objective. Without exact numbers, it is impossible to win the money game. You win the money game when you have property with passive income that can cover your monthly expenses. This simple definition requires that you're very clever about three indicators. First, how much you spend every month. Second, how much net income your investments profit once discounted taxes and inflation. And thirdly, as a consequence of the two other ones, how much you need to accumulate. If you know by heart these three numbers, then you have already given a major step to win the money game. In order to know how much you spend in a month, you need to make a household budget and do a monthly follow-up to see if that budget matches reality. In order to know how much your investments profit on average, you need to calculate the percentage of your wealth that increased or decreased compared to the previous month. Besides that, you need to discount the taxes and accumulated inflation on the month from those profits. With these two numbers in your hands, you already know how much you need to gather to win the game. But keep in mind, this number changes every month. If the following month you have a bigger net income, that means you can have smaller savings. In the same way, if your monthly expenses decrease, that means you will need less savings to cover your expenses with passive incomes. So it is ideal that you have a spreadsheet that you must update every single month with the formulas that are ready, so you just have to write down the monthly numbers and then the spreadsheet will be calculating all the numbers you need. Create phases for your money game. Every financial achievement is a stimulus for you to keep going. When you make calculations to know how much you need to gather in order to master the money game, you might reach a number very distant from your current reality. And that is completely normal. Achieving financial independence is usually a long-term project which can take 10, 20, 30 years or more. The problem is that numbers that are too far away from our reality, as well as too long deadlines, usually bring discouragement. It is not very encouraging having to make $1 million in your account when you don't even have 1,000 saved. In order to avoid that, create smaller steps for your game. No one makes $1 million before making 100,000. No one makes 100,000 before making 10,000. And no one makes 10,000 before making 1,000. You can create as many steps as you want, as long as you make the next objective more reachable. It is as if they were levels of a game. Before reaching the final level with the big boss, you need to pass through the smaller bosses from other levels. If you have that, your first level must always be paying off your debt. Afterwards, you can create your next levels. Tony Robbins suggests that you beat at least 5 levels of this game in order to get rid of that. Level 1, accumulate wealth. where passive income is able to pay for your basic expenses. Your expenses are the minimum that you need to survive: food, housing, electricity, for example. Now, level 2, increase even more your savings so that your passive income covers not only your basic expenses but also items such as clothing, leisure, health insurance, and courses. Level 3, achieve financial independence so that your passive income covers all your regular expenses. Level 4, increase your savings even more so that your passive income now can pay for your regular expenses as well as your extraordinary expenses, such as some expensive restaurant, a luxurious trip, or even a new car. Then, level 5 becomes super rich and reach total financial freedom when you have so much accumulated wealth that you could not spend it all unless you go completely crazy. I would say that even before level 1, you can create smaller steps. After having paid off your debt, I suggest you create a milestone in which you have an emergency backup equivalent to 6 months of your monthly budget. In that way, if you lose your job, if you have any type of an accident, for example, you will have that money available. The idea is that the reserve stays in a less risky investment with immediate liquidity so that you can really use it in an emergency. In no time, you can create successive steps according to your needs, with the objective of keeping yourself motivated to pass the next level of the game. Assemble a balanced team to win the game. Use the asset allocation to diversify your investments. The key to investing your money well is to balance risk and return. There are some kinds of investments that are safer even though they profit less, and there are other kinds of investments that profit more but they are riskier. In order for you to have a winning strategy, you must allocate your money or assets in a way to bring balance to your investment portfolio. Think of a soccer team. If you assemble a team only with strikers, it is possible that the team will score more goals, but it is also more likely that you will allow more goals in. If you assemble a team only with defensive players, it is possible that you will not allow any goal in, but you hardly score any goal to win the game either. The three main assets are fixed income, real estate, and stock. You can think about them as they were the defensive players, the middle of the pitch, and the attacking players of a soccer team. The fixed income is the most reliable out of these three. Investing in that kind of asset brings you security to warrant the money you have already gathered, but will not really give you a great return. On the other hand, real estate is a little bit more risky than fixed income, but not as much as stocks. You can use this kind of asset to risk a little bit more, but without compromising security. And finally, the stock market is the riskiest of all because the variable income can make you a big income in a faster way, but it can also drop exponentially when there is any problem in the market. You have to assemble your team according to the availability that you have to take risks. A well-adjusted person, for example, could decide to invest 40% of their money on fixed income, 20% on real estate, and 40% on the stock market. A more conservative person would have less shares and no more fixed income. And once you have defined how much you want to invest on each kind of asset, your role will be to invest proportionally that money into each kind of asset. With each group, it's ideal that you diversify as well. For example, if you have chosen to invest 40% of your money on a stock market, that of course does not mean that you must buy shares of only one company with all that money, because intra-class diversification is as important as the asset allocation. Asset allocation is an intelligent strategy because it prevents you from making the basic mistake of buying an asset at a high price and then selling it at a low price. When an asset that you have starts gaining value, your percentage of that kind of an asset becomes above the predefined amount. So then in your next investments, you have to buy assets of the other kind that was left behind so that you always have it in the same proportion. You always buy when the price is low. Benefit from your money while you're still able to. Don't leave it all for a future that may never come. Tony Robbins encourages you to enjoy the journey while you play the money game. Of course, mathematically speaking, the best would be to invest each single coin that you earn during your entire life so you can reach your final objective faster. The problem is that the final objective is usually very far away. It can easily take you 30 years or longer to reach it, and you might never reach it at all. You might have an accident and die before reaching it. You can lose the opportunity of going on a trip that is only worth taking while you're still young. Any other unforeseen event might happen and prevent you from winning the game. That is the reason for the recommendation of having also a dream bucket. The purpose of it is that you put some money aside and spend it on dreams that cannot wait for 10, 20, 30 years. Spending money now, in the present, on things that you dream about, that is a way to bring balance to the game. The same way you invest money to achieve financial freedom and enjoy your future, you must also invest a little bit to enjoy your present. Financial balance does not only mean diversifying your investments so that they are adjusted to the different levels of risk and return. Financial balance also means knowing how much to invest to grant yourself a peaceful future and how much to spend now to enjoy the present while still can. Money Master the Game is a book that offers a path of 7 necessary steps to achieve financial independence. Its practical examples are specifically aimed at the United States market, but if you're a skilled reader, you will be able to understand the general idea and adapt it to your reality. The book's main idea is that you must make the decision of taking control of your financial life as if it were a game in which you have to evolve to play different levels until you reach the final objective: financial freedom. The best way to evolve in this game is getting financial education. That is why I invite you now to watch a special class of the Truly Wealthy, our program for financial growth, by accessing arata.se/trulywealthy.